What's up, everybody? Welcome back. In today's video, Lindsay and I are going to be breaking down on a simple level, as simple as we can, what risk reward is, how to read it, and why it's so important to understand risk reward when you're trying to be an active day trader, when you're trying to be an active participant in the market. So, Lindsay, thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. As we head into the new year, I think this is a really good topic that anybody can get or use a little refresher on. Even you and me, when I was sitting down, for full disclosure here, Lindsay and I filmed this once already and I screwed up the edit. So this is our second take. But when I was sitting down watching the first video, I was like, really, any trader can take value out of this conversation, because I think understanding risk reward is just such a crucial, fundamental piece to what we do every single day.
Absolutely.
I want to start today's video. Just if you could go back to before ASFX for us and paint the picture for your understanding of risk reward then. Like, what was it like for you before ASFX when you were trying to identify stop loss, take profit, and that kind of thing?
Well, I'm laughing into myself when I look back to what it was like before ASFX, because as I've already told you, like, I didn't really have risk reward. Like, I was risking sometimes more than what I was actually getting to my take profit.
What made you realize that there was an issue with that?
Well, I actually didn't think there was an issue with it, because that was kind of how I was taught.
Really?
You know, that not in every trade, but on some trades, because I was using support and resistance as my guide, that sometimes depending on where my support and resistance were set, if, you know, to cover my stop, sometimes it would have to be a bit bigger than where my take profit was going to be.
So like your stop loss would have to go at the most recent support level. That might be like 10 pips, but then the most recent resistance on top might be 7 pips. So then you're risking 10 to make 7, and that doesn't. Now you look back on that and you laugh. I know it's funny, but like
I think it was all about how it was kind of drilled into us. It was all about your win rate, and so you were going into that trade and you were going to win it. It didn't really matter that you were having that odd trade that had a bigger stop loss than your take profit.
Knowing what you know now, do you think you could trade that way? Like, do you think you could trade and have a bigger stop loss than your take profit now?
No.
Even with a perfect win rate?
No.
Because, I mean, who has a perfect win rate? Like, let's be honest.
No trader.
And listen, if anybody's close to it, it's you, right? But even you still take some break evens, still take some small losses here and there.
Though, like what I average, and you know what my FX book tells you, your kind of average stop loss, and even if I'm like go above that, I'm still thinking, that's a bit big a stop for me.
So like you're using your historical stop loss data over the last year to say, okay, my average stop is 17 pips. So if you get a setup and if it's like 30 pip stop loss, you're like, I don't know if I want that. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. That's smart. I like that.
Yeah.
When you were with ASFX, like when you came in, it's like roughly a year and a half ago, now, right? Something like that.
I can't believe it.
I know, right? We've done a lot. It's been a good year for us. It's, you know,
wow.
When you came in, what was it like? Was there a specific part of the course or a specific video that I filmed or said? What clicked with you when you were like
your YouTube? It was one of your YouTube videos, I can remember, and because before I joined, I was really, and I always say stalking you, but what I mean by that is I never missed a YouTube video. I was always going in and checking,
trying to learn,
like the notifications to make sure I was catching everyone, and I could see you were using the tool for your to measure your risk reward, and I was like, wow, he can actually measure, like, so, you know, he's going to get 3-1 in this trade, and I was like, gosh, I'm only ever going to get either like 1-1 or less than that in my trades.
Right.
So at that
something
point,
was wrong.
I was thinking that how am I ever going to get consistency here if I am not even getting 1-1 in my trades on majority of them, because my take profit was always going to be that part smaller.
And this was the day that you realized there was something else to risk reward that you had to figure out, right? Yeah.
And I had been trading like that for 2 years almost.
Right. That's crazy. But hey, you have to compliment yourself seriously that you were open-minded enough 2 years into your trading career to still be like, hey, I need to learn something new. Because a lot of people 2 years in, they're locked in.
The way I was kind of looking at it was I only at this point traded 2 pairs, 2 primary pairs that I traded every day. And I could see the moves happening. And I wasn't even getting 1-1. So my mind was always chasing that. How am I going to get this piece of this move more than 1-1?
It's like that you were like trying to just not chase momentum only, but it's like you were just seeing stuff happen and you were like, how do I get a part of this rather than
Yes,
is this even worth the risk?
yes.
Which is like just a different question. It's a different mindset to be in. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
here's another good question for you. Now, if you take that day or time period where you figured
Yep.
out, I need to learn more about risk reward, how quickly after that did you learn about R multiples, like 1R, 2R, 3R? How does that work with this, like in your
Just through,
journey?
I found it kind of just straight away after, going into that video. Then I was doing my research on all your videos by that point.
Got it.
And I
Got
think
it.
by that point, I wasn't fully caught up in all your videos. That was just one that had really caught my attention, that this guy really measuring risk reward, something that I have been trading for 2 years and I didn't know that I really had to have a good step on it
Right.
to find that consistency, to find that way to get to being profitable, because I
Right.
knew the way I was doing it was definitely not going to get me profitable in the long run.
Well, it's interesting because like I think a lot of traders come into trading probably without a proper understanding of risk. Because even for somebody like me that has experience before trading like I definitely think I've always understood risk versus reward. It's like part of who I am. I think still in trading it's slightly different because sometimes good risk reward would require you to still take some trades that you don't necessarily feel that great about, but they could still be good risk reward trades. So how did you transition from this trader who was using bigger stop losses than take profits, not reading risk, to now you read risk, but not only that, you grade your setups appropriately so that you're not risking too much on any risk reward setup. You went from like no understanding to now like 17 layers of understanding and like details. You know what I'm saying? What does that do for your confidence in your trading on a daily basis?
Oh, it's inspiring my confidence now, because I can actually read risk reward and know where I'm looking to take that trade to. Where, going back to before, I was really just taking it to just that next support or resistance, depending on the way I was going, and just catching that wee bit of momentum to be in and out in maybe 5 minutes or so.
Right.
Just to say that I had won that trade.
Right. Do you find now you get stopped out less than you did back then?
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Do you think that's because you read risk reward better or just because the system is better? I'm just curious.
No, I think it's because the system is better.
Okay. So it's separate.
Because I was still always, where I was placing my stops before,
Yeah.
I was always said there were safety stops off, because I was good at plotting support and resistance using higher time frames, and I always covered myself with my stops using not just the bodies sometimes, but the wicks.
Got it.
To have a safer stop if I was using the wick.
To give it even more space.
But it gave me more space, but I still wasn't getting it on the top.
Right. So now you're giving it a 20 pip stop loss and you're still only going to get 7. Right. So when you look back on it now, I guess like, because I think everybody listening now will kind of understand, hopefully, that not only can you measure risk reward on your chart, and like you said, they see that in all of our trade videos. We have other trading view videos that I've made that people can go watch on how to actually measure that. But now that it's more of an understanding, that's why I wanted to have this conversation just face to face, because the chart stuff, it's in other videos, it's not that complicated. But the understanding that first thing you have to be thinking about is risk it's a tough concept for some traders to wrap their mind around. So what advice would you give newer traders, or you go back to yourself a year ago, what would be the best advice you could give to that person right now that's struggling to find consistency?
I would definitely say they have to find and understand risk reward.
Yeah.
That if I could go back to the beginning of my trading journey, initially would be to have a proper understanding of risk to reward.
Just understanding where to put a stop loss versus how to figure out the potential take profit.
And even, it's to find, it's not so much, I didn't struggle so much with where I was putting my stop loss, but what I struggled with was having the target to measure the reward of where I was taking the trade to.
Got it.
And I think that's where a lot of traders can struggle with that.
Yeah.
That's what I struggled, because the way I traded with the support and resistance, when you're doing it multi-time frame analysis and you're bringing it down from, I was only bringing it from the daily down to the 15-minute.
Right.
You've got a lot of support and resistance zones.
Hell yeah.
And how do you know which one's going to break it and which one's not?
Right. That's why I always had a hard time trusting support and resistance. But now I think what you find, at least specifically, you'll understand this, and the people that are in our group will understand this. Like when you have a candle formation or a specific entry signal that'll give you a predefined stop loss separate from support and resistance, I think you're making steps into something that is more unique. It's something that most traders are not doing, which is why it actually works. Because think about it, support and resistance levels are there because most people see them. So how could you say in a business where 90% of people are losing money that you would want to follow a level that most people already see and trust that level? Because realistically, I mean, look, you and I are not market makers by any means, but whether it's the algos or whether it's the brokers that run the algo, whatever it is, they can see these support and resistance levels. They can see where people's stops are. So it's very clear for them if they wanted to throw a spike, take out some orders, and still come back up to that level and make it look like it held that level, but really it took out a bunch of traders in the meantime, right? So I think transitioning away from support and resistance was a big thing for you too. And
I bet that's huge.
I think
that's actually probably another topic of video we could do, because that was a huge transition for me, moving away from that, because it's hard to it's hard to go when you're trying to measure support and risk to reward through support and resistance, as I was taught it. So if I've got a resistance coming in the 15-minute chart, and then I've got another one coming in the hourly chart, how do I know that it's going to break that 15-minute to get to the 1 hour? So I've got to, when I'm looking for risk reward here, I've got to put it to the closest one, and that's how I was never getting the right risk to reward.
Right. And now, one last thing I think it's important to mention. And if anybody watching this far into the video, if you have any comments or any questions about what we're talking about, please put them below, because we can always make another video. We can always answer. But what I was going to say is it's incredible to see you now be so picky with your risk reward, where sometimes you'll risk 7 or 8. And if it's only giving you 15, you'll be like, nah, I don't want that. Because you wanted to give you 25 if you're risking 7. And that's something that I know you'd be more interested in. So it's interesting just to see the transition that you've come through, and how not only it's giving you confidence with like your ability to click the button, but it also gives you confidence to say, nah, I don't know what's going on here, and I don't want to do anything here. That's hard for a lot of traders to admit, because they think that we all need to be trading all the time. But part of really, I think, consistent trading is being able to say, no, I don't like this risk reward. No, I don't like this setup. I can see it, but I don't like it. And that's powerful. You know what I mean? And that's why I think you saw so much success this year.
Yeah, it's been an amazing year. My best year trading.
Well, look, 2021 is only going to be bigger for all of us, for you, for me, for our YouTube family, for our ASFX family, for everybody. So no, this is good video, Lindsay. Good information here.
But
everybody listening,
to get risk reward.
Don't wait, you got to get it down.
2 years down the line to find your understanding of risk reward. Make that one of your top priorities when you start off.
I love it. So for everybody, excuse me, for everybody still listening this far in the video, make sure you check the description wherever you're watching or listening. Connect with Lindsay, say Happy New Year, and let her know if you're one of those traders like she was, that really couldn't read risk reward, didn't have any idea. And now with this video, you're thinking a little differently. Ask her any questions. She's always going to be there to answer you guys and support the trading community. So Lindsay, thank you. Always. Thank you. For everybody watching. Of course. We appreciate you guys very, very much. Make sure you like and subscribe the video if you found any value, and we will see you in the next video.
Yeah. Take care.